Hey, what's up guys? It's Kyle from RR Buildings, and yeah, it's been a little bit of time since we've done a Toolsday, but we're back, and I'm glad you guys are here to follow along because we've got a special one. We've got a brand new package that showed up this week from Metabo HPT, which, you know, formerly Hitachi, Metabo, they bought each other. It's a weird thing, but anyway, it's now Metabo HPT, and we've got their 10-inch cordless job site table saw, which is a one of a kind. It's either gonna run on batteries or corded. So let's get into this thing. All right guys, well there we go. This is the Metabo 10-inch multi-volt table saw. Now this is a job site table saw. It's going to be a 10-inch blade, which is, I do believe, a one of a kind. The Milwaukee Dewalt that I've been using is an 8 1/4, and you can definitely see it's a lot bigger overall. So this is, like I said, going to use their new multi-volt battery system or the corded option, which is one of the things I think, you know, not all the multi-volt tools from Metabo I think are really worthy of plugging in, like a drill or, you know, a circular saw. I just don't want that. I want it all cordless, but something like a table saw, you want portability, but you also want to be able to plug in that, you know, the tool and have runtime all day. So good job Metabo right away on doing that. Let's go over some of the specs for this table saw. So one of the nice things about this table saw is that it has a 35-inch rip capacity on the right side and a 22-inch rip capacity on the left side. It's gonna do 0 to 45 degrees, so you're gonna be able to get those 45-degree miter cuts, and it's gonna go 3 1/8 tall when you've got full max capacity on 90 degrees and 2 1/4 inch if you're gonna do a 45-degree cut. One of the other nice things about this saw is that Metabo did make it available for a 13/16 Dado Blade set, which is awesome. I don't do a ton of Dado blades, but I know if you're doing some woodworking, you're gonna want that option, so that's a great feature. Now, just to compare it to, let's say, the Milwaukee job site table saw that you guys have seen me use, we'll just throw it up here for comparison's sake. And you can definitely see the Milwaukee looks like a toy compared in size and stature. This is 42 pounds, this is 65 pounds, and you can see the amount of difference on just the sheer table and how much capacity you have for larger material. So I know that's gonna be a great positive thing on the job site for us specifically. So there you go. Those are really the basic specs. Now let's go ahead and do a quick walk around of the saw and show you some of the features and accessories that come along with it. First, we're gonna go ahead and look at the fence here. And basically what we've got is a little bit of a unique design. I haven't seen it. We've got these two little knobs on each side, and it's gonna unlock your fence to basically come off. And then you're just gonna rotate it and flip it around the exact opposite way to get locked in. Now you'll see that it only goes up to the table saw, and that's so that when you get this large capacity trying to rip that 35 inches, it's gonna have something to set on out here, but it also doesn't allow you to go any closer to your blade. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna pop these back up, and then you're going to rotate the fence, and it will lock in then on these knobs that are a little bit closer, so that way you can get right up to your blade. Now, one thing, I have not really played with it, but this came with the set as well, and I think this is when you're wanting to add some maybe accessories or get a nice thin piece of veneer or something, because you can see the gap down here. This is gonna snap on, and it's gonna run right along the tabletop, so you can get those nice clean cuts. I'm assuming, I really don't know that I would probably ever use this, and maybe somebody can chime in down below in the comments what this would be good for, and maybe I can learn something too, because I don't know really what I would do with this. But it locks on, and it's just kind of a cheap plastic accessory. I'm sure there's a great use for it. So anyway, we got the fence here. Now we're gonna have the safety stuff that is so important, safety third. These are gonna help you with guiding your material into the blade And then you've also got the anti-kickback here that's going to clip in. So they've added these accessories. Let's go ahead and we'll show you how to put them on. I personally don't like to use them just because they get in the way out on the job site and they're probably going to get broke. So let's go ahead and run this blade up, and we're going to unlock the cover and take that out. Now this is a cool feature. I kind of like this, and you'll see it with the riving knife. We're just going to come all the way up here. You've got this little lever here, and once you flip it up, you can take the riving knife and it just kind of rotates around. You can see that little track here. And you bring it all the way up, lock it back down, and now you can add these features here. So make sure that's locked in there. That's going to help prevent your kickback if it grabs. And then this guy here is going to slide right over like such. All right, so let's go ahead and just take this stuff back off. You can see really how easy it is. Put this guy back here for safety for sure. And we'll go ahead and take the blade back down. I'll leave the riving knife up for now. Okay, now continuing around the saw, another thing that Metabo did, which I think is great, is they added this extension, which is, I think, a great idea, because most of the time when you're ripping your material, you exit the saw and there's like hardly anything left and you're balancing it unless you have a really nice outfeed table. They added this little bit of an extension, which doesn't seem like a ton, but I bet it's going to make a big difference to a lot of people just having that extra 6 to 8 inches. And once you get it where you want it, there's a couple little locks down here, but we're going to go ahead and put it away just for the sake of not having it in our way. And we've got obviously our dust extraction port if you want to hook up with dust extraction, which I recommend. And your miter gauge is going to slip right in here, which it looks like pretty nice, not cheap. Oh, and hear that? Got some nice detents, so you can, looks like we're going to detent out at probably, well, we got 45 degrees, probably 22.5. So that's a nice feature. I like that. We'll see how accurate it is. And a nice tool storage that looks like you have to have it maybe on an angle to get in there nice. All right, now continuing around the saw, on the side here, we've got some blade tool storage, which is pretty common feature on most saws. So that looks like a nice handy spot. We've got 2 of them. And then this is where your battery is going to go. Now, it's got to be the multivolt tool battery, which is, you know, should be self-explanatory. You got the multivolt sign. And then also, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but this is where the battery plug-in that actually is a 110 power will also go. Now, this here is pretty cool. I'm actually a fan of this. You guys already know I didn't like the Dewalt saw. Every time you turned it on, the cover went down. It would shut the saw off because the spring was too strong. People ended up taking that off, which is not a good safety feature. So what they did here is this is just a little flip up, unlocks it. You can turn the saw on. Now, you see what the red switch did. As soon as you turned that on, it pushed this out. And just at the bump of this is going to turn it off. So I think that's a really nice little feature there. I think that's going to work great. And then obviously here we've got our saw blade controls, which are going to allow us to change it from a 0 to a 45-degree bevel. Nice and smooth, doesn't go too fast, so I think you're going to be pretty precise. Got a lock on it. And then blade height. So that's basically the features of the saw. That's most of the accessories. Let's go ahead and get some material, because I know you guys want to see it in use and I want to cut something, so let's do that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make some cuts first with battery power, and we'll just see how that goes. One thing to note is that this battery, Metabo is clearly not thinking about anything bigger than this, and I say that because this battery opening over here it's only big enough for that battery. So maybe, you know, if this 36 volt, 18 volt, multi-volt battery here that operates at 4 amp hours, that's about as big as it's gonna be unless they somehow shrink the batteries. So, because there's no more room in that saw. Let's go ahead and rip some material. All right, here we go. So clearly dust collection, either my vacuum is sucking and not sucking, or dust collection is not that great. Now you can see I've got a reduction to adapter here, so maybe that's the problem, but that ain't doing much for anything. Now it's got plenty of suction. Okay, let's rip something a little bit bigger. Let's go to max depth. Let's see if we can't rip a 4x4. Now I knew at 3 1/8 I wasn't going to rip it, but if you look how close it got to ripping the full 4x4. So to me, maybe they're a little off on their calculation, because that's every bit of 3 3/8. It almost got the full 3.5 inch. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and rip some plywood. So I'm also going to max out the capacity on this thing. And to do that, remember, we gotta flip this thing around and rotate these guys. Let's see, I gotta remember how that goes. New tool. Okay. Now it's saying a 35-inch capacity. What I also am going to do with this test is, it's got a nice little measurement guide here on the face, like most saws do. I'm going to go ahead and test it and see how accurate it is. So we're right at 35 inches, and we'll measure it when we're done, see how we did. All right, so silly me, I didn't check this wood. This was just scrap coming from the job site, and this edge had a little bit of a curve to it. So what we're gonna do is, I mean, it has no problem doing the 35 inches. Let's go ahead and find a good, clean edge that's actually factory or straight, which is right here, and we'll make us another cut and test the accuracy. We're just gonna come in and do like 20 inches. Okay, here we go. Also, let's go ahead and let's utilize this sweet extension here too. See how that works. Now we're supposed to be 20 inches, That's not even close to right, Kyle, because there's two different spots you can put this. So I was at either 20 inches or 28 inches, which makes sense because that's what my tape measure reads. 28 and maybe a 32nd. So I don't know if you can see that. That's not perfect, but I will also say I never use those measurements. I just wanted to test it. I'm always the guy that kind of bumps in and checks. So if you look at that, that's just 28 and about a 32nd. So, you know, that's not the end of the world. If you're a really fine carpenter and you're doing finished work, you're probably going to double check it with a measurement tool, not go off of that rule. Other than that, man, there's really not a whole lot that I can do here, you know, in the shop for a video for you guys. I wanted to walk around this. I'm excited because it's a full 10-inch cordless saw. The one thing we didn't cover, but I want to touch on, is this AC/DC adapter. Now, this is going to be great for guys that are traditional corded, or people that are traditionally corded tools. I personally am probably never going to use this. I will always try to use the battery, but I think it's awesome that Metabo made this an option. It looks just like their battery and it goes in just like the battery, and there's a little bit of a transformer here. I think the cord is every bit of 15 to 20 foot long, so you've got plenty of, I guess, workability with that from an outlet, and you're just gonna plug it in like any other corded tool. So very cool, Metabo. First thoughts is I like the size of the saw, I like the capacities of the saw, I like the flexibility from corded to corded or cordless. The outfeed table's great. The capacity on this rip fence is awesome. I don't know about this surface. It's something that I had seen some other people talk about, and I don't know if it's a problem, but it's kind of a rough surface. It's not like a smooth surface, but maybe when you're out on the job site ripping rough construction, that's actually not a big deal. And I guess time will tell with a lot of these things, how it wears, how it holds up. I think this saw is in like the $600+ range, so it's very expensive, but it's a premium because there's nothing else like it out there on the market. And until other companies come forward with a 10-inch job site saw, this is kind of the only cordless option out there. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Leave me a comment down below. Hit that like button if you would, and definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you guys check out the current build series that we just started. It's going to be awesome, and I'll see you guys on next episode.